Welcome to episode 221 of Saturday Football Uncensored, brought to you by Saturday Down South and Texas Pete. On today's episode, we discuss week 2 of bowl season, transfer portal updates, and early signing day. You can find this show on our website, SaturdayDownSouth.com, and Apple and Spotify. Don't forget to join us for the live show every Sunday night at 8 Eastern Time on the Saturday Down South YouTube page. Don't forget to share the pod with your friends, everybody. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Saturday Football Uncensored, brought to you by Saturday Down South and Texas Pete. I'm your host, Tyler Huck, and with me as always, well, not always, but most of the time, Chris
Dude,
Molly.
thank you for filling in and going solo on Thursday. I was sitting here sick like for most of the week, and I was like, I can do Thursday. I'll be fine. I hadn't thrown up, and like literally 12 minutes before we're about to record, I like sprint to the bathroom and throwing up, and I was like, I just remember going, I can't do this. So I called you. I appreciate you filling in. Hope everyone's having a good Sunday. It's been a minute. I feel like there's been, I feel like there's like a decent amount of news. I feel like there's been a ton of overreaction to stuff. Some good, some bad. We got Evan Grimes over here, and we got the super chat going as well. Anyway, well, first off, how you been? I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever.
I've been good, man. Bowls are so tough to bet on these days.
I went undefeated.
Did you really?
I had Texas Tech, I had UCLA, and I think that's the only two I bet on.
Well, like you go back to like the first game, Georgia Southern and Ohio. Ohio had their starting quarterback, their two top running backs, their top receiver, all out. And then they still beat Georgia Southern by 20.
I was watching one of my buddies, and you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember his name. It's Dave something. It's a guy I run into all the time at media days. Super great guy. He hosts Locked On Sunbelt, which is
tough task.
Tough task.
How many people do you think are locked on the Sunbelt?
Locked On Funbelt?
Yeah. Like, in totality, people locked into the Sunbelt every week. What do you think that number is?
I mean, I'm not going to get into anybody's numbers. I'm just, as somebody that's currently
not the actual pod, just people that are actually locked into the Sunbelt.
I don't know. Yeah, Willie Gray, you get to pay to talk. Yeah, but no. So he was talking about this, and he was like, yeah, this person's out, this person's out. It's like it would take a like nightmare scenario for Georgia Southern not to cover this game and win by double digits. And then they were never in it. They were never in that game.
Never. Stupid.
It's thick. Yeah, and then there's portal stuff is crazy. Georgia's got like a mass exodus, which I think is, for me, where the biggest overreaction is coming from because of the players that are leaving. I think they're going to be fine. I feel like I've been in and out of sleep for like the past week, and I would wake up and I would see people mad on Twitter, and I would probably chime in with something about that, and then I would go back to bed, and then get back into it. But I did see people that were overreacting to that. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're trimming the fat necessarily, Evan Grimes says, but I do think that they're going to be fine. Lane is killing it in the portal, which is wild. What else? There was a full slate of bowl games on this Saturday. The portal has been crazy. We already did the Heisman recap, and now you're talking about this upcoming week. There's a game on every single day except for Wednesday,
which is National Signing Day. So there you go.
Williams. I don't want to sound dramatic, Tyler, but if Ryan Williams flips to Auburn, I'm going to kill myself on TV. Is that too much?
Did you see that he was on campus at Auburn this weekend with wearing Alabama gear?
I did.
Interesting.
I liked part of that.
Yeah. Let's talk about Ole Miss real quick.
Yeah.
Because they're vying to put together potentially the best portal class we've seen in the last, since
of all time, dude.
Yeah, of all time, man. And this dates back. as you know.
Yeah. Of all times, 3 years. Well,
Um,
Hottie's here. There it is.
yeah, joined on. It's telling us when people join on Twitter now, which is interesting. Didn't used to
Yeah.
do that. So you've got they just landed Juice Wells today, who I
Mhm.
think both you and I are big fans of. He didn't play much this year, but he had a really good 2022. They landed the number one edge in the portal from Florida, Princely. It's
I don't think that's correct, but okay.
close.
I'll take your
Number
word
one
for it.
linebacker in the portal, Chris Paul Jr. Don't think it's Chris Paul's son. Well, it's a Chris Paul's son, but it's not the Chris Paul's son.
That's the thing. That's what they
Yeah.
get you.
Yep. They landed the number 2 edge in the portal, Tyler Barron from Tennessee. The number 2 O lineman or interior O lineman, Jerquan Scott. And it looks like they're about to land the number 1 player in the portal
Yeah.
in Walter Nolan.
You left out the juiciest. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Juice Wells. I think is he the top receiver in the entire portal class?
Number 2. And I
Number
didn't
2.
leave it out. I actually mentioned that we both like him.
Yeah, but also a preseason All-American going into the season.
Yeah, man. He's I guess part of it was injury, part of it maybe was like I'm going to shut the season down when South Carolina wasn't really having a good season. I don't really know.
I'm surprised it took him this long to commit, because if you talk to anybody around here in South Carolina, and you talk to me every week,
Mhm.
the
Twice a week.
word around here is that he was quitting early.
Yeah, I think with some of these players, like I remember when Riley Leonard went in the portal and like everyone's like, okay, like putting a crystal ball to Notre Dame, it's like he's not even in the portal yet. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And then eventually he ends up at Notre Dame. I think some of this is like this weird, like, hey, I'm trying to make it seem like this wasn't always gonna happen, so I'm just gonna wait like 2 weeks. But then it's like, nah, dude, we're kind of onto the trail here. We know what's
Yeah.
going on. Just go ahead and commit. Yeah, man. Florida State had 2 of the top couple QBs in the portal on the same weekend this weekend, and Cam Ward and DJU.
Did you see DJU show up
Yeah.
in the most like fucking 2008 East Bay gear shit ever? He just like the baggiest sweatpants. He looked like I saw the picture and I was like, this has to be from when we were in college. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Allie Davison's here.
Oh, nice.
Yay. Also, real quick. Actually, I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
Got recognized by her Uber driver last night.
You got recognized by your Uber driver? Is that what you said?
No. Allie got recognized by her Uber driver, who also apparently recognized me. It was a banner day. Anyway, no, back to the portal. I mean, like, you said that DJU was down at Florida State. And that's been that's an interesting part, because like Florida State is kind of in this who's coming, who's going, and who's playing. It seems like not a revolving door, but it's like there's so many things going on. It's like a whack-a-mole.
Yeah, well, they're losing a lot of guys to the draft. So they're gonna have to bring in some portal guys and I don't know, man. That Orange Bowl is gonna be like 4 guys opted out today, and I'm quite sure it's not gonna be the last. No, but the Ole Miss thing is interesting because I think what they already were trending. Obviously, they finished. What did they finish this year? 11th, 10th. Ole Miss.
Who Ole Miss? Yeah, 11th.
They could be this year's Florida State or next year's Florida State from this year. Like in terms of just adding like a significant amount of difference makers who are all juniors and ready to play right now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these guys played in the SEC, like the kid from Florida, Chris Paul Jr., Juice Wells, Walter Nolan, if he ends up committing there. Like all these guys, Tyler Barron, are SEC guys.
Yeah.
So, Jackson Dart, I guess, is non-committal about coming back. I don't see why
I thought he already announced he was coming back.
Oh, I thought he had said he was going to play in the bowl, but wait to make a decision on. Carson Beck said that today too, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ole Miss could be lining themselves up, and I believe they don't have a terrible schedule as it pertains to like a lot of these teams. The schedules are brutal next year, like
I think
especially
they lost Bama.
Yeah, so I mean, Ole Miss
That's
might be a
another thing.
team to watch out for next year.
I thought it was interesting the way they went about like some of the places they were trying to add. I mean, I wouldn't even say depth. I mean, just like legit seasoned veterans, and it's on the edge. And then you talk about if Walter Nolan goes there, in the middle of it's a D on the D line. I mean, like you look at their rush defense. It was 8th in the SEC last year in average yards per carry, giving up over 4 yards per carry. It was overall they have like 168 yards a game. But then you talk about like from a sack standpoint, that's where these guys are going to be, I think, like utilized most, or they want to utilize them most. They were already pretty strong. They were 5th in the conference in sacks this year. I will tell you, if you're an Ole Miss fan, I'm not saying this as like a jaded Bama fan or somebody that is like talking shit. I'm just telling you as a Pete Golding, I'm not going to say survivor, but like alumnus. Okay, you better be prepared for some of these edge guys to be dropping back in coverage on third and long. Because if he did it with Will Anderson, he's going to do it with these people. So, but I do think the overall depth and then star power they've gotten from the defensive line. Then you look what they got from Tennessee, even not just like highly ranked recruits, but like a 2-year starter in the secondary. I thought that was huge.
Evan Grimes, thanks for the super chat here. He says, the best Allie, hop into the show. I got questions for you. Also, when did Ole Miss get all this money?
So that is a very good question.
Thanks
and I can't tell if this is something where they're starting to take it seriously, or if they are like I mean, because here's the other thing too. Like, I mean, I'm not great with budgets. I will tell you that like watching Lane in the portal with his NIL budget is going to be very interesting. And I'll tell you another thing that's interesting about too, specifically with Ole Miss, is that when you heard when he was going to go to Auburn last year, and what like when he finally stayed and kind of used that as leverage to stay at Ole Miss and get a raise, and then Auburn put all this money into their NIL and on to victory and all that kind of stuff, that became something that you were kind of told like they were going to, like Ole Miss was going to be behind on. They were going to be middle of the pack in the SEC, and that does not seem to be the case at all. And especially when you compare just those two teams, apples to apples. I mean, like Auburn, admittedly, from Hugh Freeze this weekend said that he doesn't feel like he's done a good job of getting into the portal because they're trying to build all their players from high school off the bat.
Yeah, I think they're definitely the team to look out for this year. I'm kind of excited to see what they do in the SEC.
Yeah.
All right. So these games that have happened already. So we talked about Ohio, Georgia Southern. I think Ohio started like the open was like they were favored by 6, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then all these players started opting out, important ones at that, especially on the offense.
Yeah.
And the line moved all the way to Georgia Southern being favored by 3.5 at game time. So of course Ohio won by 20.
Did you bet on it or something?
Yeah, I did.
Why?
Yeah, I felt like if you're gonna have that many of your star like skill players out, that it would be very difficult to replicate the season you've had at all. And they didn't really play that many good teams this year, but I was clearly wrong.
Yeah.
The Jacksonville State game, I also bet on that 3.5.
What are you talking about? Why did you bet on that?
Why not, Chris? It was on like a Saturday night. Nothing else to do.
It was there were 7 games on. Why did you choose to?
I bet on all of them.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
I took
Jack State, not okay. I'm thinking of Jackson State.
No, I didn't bet on the celebration.
It was 3.5.
It was 3.5. It was.
3.
That was a tough one.
Did you win anything?
I think I got UCLA.
I got that one.
And that was the only one because I had App State minus 6.5. They promptly won by 4. I had New Mexico State, and they got blown out. And I wanted to play a little clip.
Yeah.
From the New Mexico State game. Now let me set the stage here. So Jerry Kill, for those of you that know him, he was a coach up in Minnesota for a long time. A lot of people like him in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
He's the coach of New Mexico State. I must have missed this, and I think the coach did as well when it happened. But apparently, the quarterback Diego Pavia, I'm sure Auburn fans are familiar. Apparently, when they played New Mexico, like he pissed on their logo or something like that.
So early in the season, I thought this was one of our like uncensored moments of the week. This kid, he got like dared. This is like halfway through the season. This is not like or maybe even earlier, like maybe like the first month.
It was 2 months ago.
Which we're gonna find out why. he was like in their practice facility and he peed on their logo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then leading up to this game, by the way, apparently New Mexico State wasn't allowed to practice in an indoor practice facility for some reason. And Jerry Kill did not take the high road on this.
No.
Let me make sure you can hear this.
Taken care of 100%.
Yeah.
And, it was a great bowl game. And, hopefully we can, do a good enough job to come back someday. But they did a great job, and I appreciate it. Now, the other part of it's this, we had all kinds of stuff.
Why is he holding the water like that?
And trying to get done. He had to fight his ass off to get us to be able to practice in an indoor because of a situation that happened, down the road. Most of you know that. Okay. I did my part. I disciplined the young man. And it may not be the time to do it, but gosh, I'm going to get off my damn mind because I didn't say anything about it. We disciplined the young man. He doesn't get to do any interviews and stuff like that. If you want to take a toothbrush and clean toilets all the time, that ain't a lot of fun. And do community service. Well, guess what? I hope the AD here gets the same damn discipline with the people around this state that Diego got, because he deserves it. And it don't bother me a damn bit.
Keep in mind, I'm going to pause this real fast. He's talking about his boss currently.
Wait.
When
he's talking about his own AD.
I thought he was. So I'm so confused about this. I thought he was talking about. I thought they were playing at Why'd you turn it off? I thought they were playing at New Mexico, like the University of New Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
And it was that AD, which I'm pretty sure is what happened.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, he's talking about the New Mexico AD. I was confused earlier, thinking he was talking about his own AD.
Okay, go back.
All right.
It's not even the best part yet.
When he let us want to practice in the indoor facility, when he don't want us to do this and do that, that's chicken shit. And I don't care. That's my opinion. I get in trouble. I don't give a shit either. Because I can go down to Mexico tomorrow, drink margaritas, and let you all enjoy your life, because I'll be enjoying mine.
This is me to George's Twitter.
I've had class my whole life. And you can ask the college football profession. I did. Never been treated like that. And guess what? When that incident happened, I didn't know about it for 2 months.
How?
Right here. Then they tell me after the game. Take that to the bank. And he better be disciplined. He better be disciplined by the state. And if he's not, it's a crime.
All right, so here's the thing. I'll just say what I think everyone is thinking. What the fuck is he talking about?
So the New Mexico AD would not allow. So this bowl that they were at was held at New Mexico's stadium. The New Mexico AD would not allow New Mexico State to practice in the indoor facility that week.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's pissed about.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. One of his players pissed on the logo in the facility. Are we surprised that they weren't allowed to? I like Jerry Kill. I'm still a huge fan of him eating a fucking popsicle on the sideline.
Yeah.
Which he did during a live college football game. He just sat there eating like a Choco Taco or some shit. It was just nothing. Like it was not a big deal at all. Just like in the fourth quarter, Big Ten divisional game. Just like, but
that's incredible.
I kind of feel like he's in. You had a player pee on the logo of your rival. Like, okay, so like if Auburn, if Peyton Thorne peed on the Bama logo, and they had to come play a bowl game in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like I understand a little bit. I mean, I don't. What is he so mad about?
Dude, I love when coaches go on these rants, man. It's the best.
Yeah.
Like he just halfway through, he's like, "Shit, I'm gonna get fined for this, so I may as well just continue to roll."
I'm gonna get even more deranged.
Yeah. You ever watch Ozark?
Yeah, it got really dark at the end, so I stopped watching it.
Okay, well, you don't need to watch the full show to remember the Snells.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mexico. He said. He says, and he kind of looks like
he does.
Snell guy. I'll be down to Mexico drinking margaritas.
Yeah, I love how he kept using the Aquafina bottle as a prop.
And then this.
Yeah. And then the whole thing about he should be punished by the state. I'm not great with like state legislature, or even county. Like we can go on a smaller scale.
Yeah. Or bigger, federal.
Or either way you want to look at it.
We'll sum this up. We just don't know legislature.
Yeah, we are a legislature pod. I can barely say the word. You're lucky I'm not drinking. Yeah, I thought that was weird as shit. Other bowl games. I thought this was interesting. Jaden Ott from Cal, who I'm a big fan of, he opted. He entered the transfer portal, but he opted into the bowl game. Did you bet on that game too?
No, but here's my thing. I don't think he did enter the portal. He like faked everybody out.
Wait, he made a video.
I know. Did you watch the entire video?
No, of course not. I reacted immediately as soon as I thought I had a full scope of things.
So he did that whole thing, and then he walked off the video, and then he comes back. He goes something like, "No, I'm just playing. Let's run it back." And then it was just like a bunch of clips of him dominating.
He's a really good back.
Yeah, he only had 45 yards in the game though.
He's a very average back.
Yeah, and in that tenacious Red Raider D
defense. It was one of the worst offensive performances I've seen from a team in quite some time. Also, they were in Shreveport. If you guys aren't familiar with Shreveport, it is the town that my father got us banned from quite some time ago.
Yeah, they scored 14 points in the first quarter and then just didn't score again. Not a single point after that. 34-14 loss. Of course, you had UCLA take down Boise State 35-22. And that was pretty much it. And we've only really got 2 games in between now and when we record next.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky, Old Dominion tomorrow at 2:30. This is what I love was when we get into the weekday games that are like in the middle of the day.
That's the best part.
Yeah. Let's throw that bitch on at noon on a Tuesday.
Throw that bitch on. Okay. So hold on. It's Old Dominion and who?
Western Kentucky.
The Hilltoppers.
Yep. Their entire O-line has opted out.
Why do you know all that? You should have been on the Bet the Bulls preview video, not me.
Yeah. Almost their entire O-line has opted out. They're starting left guard, starting center, starting right tackle. All have opted out in the transfer portal. Starting corner, starting linebacker, starting safety, backup QB. This Bulls are just a joke now. It's funny.
I mean, yeah, but it's like,
Now, granted, I think a really easy change for this, like you're still not going to stop the guys that are going pro.
Right.
But the problem is that the portal opens and closes before these bowls even basically start.
Yeah.
So like you got a guy like Malik Murphy who clearly Ewers decides to come back, and it kind of seems like it's the art show after that. He's kind of stuck in between, a rock and a hard place, but he can't play in the playoffs because the portal is going to be closed, and he needs to start with a new team by the first of the year. And the portal closes, I think, this week. Doesn't mean you have to commit by next week, but it closes.
What's surprising is that they wouldn't do it right after right after the bowl games to let kids capitalize on having a big bowl game.
Right.
Like the schedule makes no sense. Like Josh Pate has talked about this ad nauseum. Like this is something I brought up like 2 or 3 years ago, and the first thing I said was nobody's going to feel bad for these college coaches because they make millions of dollars, and that, yeah, like Willie Gray brings up a good point. They got to get the portal and signing day separated. It makes no sense. It just makes no sense. Like the season ends, and this is kind of, I think, what the ugly truth is. We're starting to see, like, people thought like, oh, you're going to see so many opt outs in bowl games, and that's going to suck. They're going to be meaningless. What's really going to suck is, and I don't think the 12-team playoff is necessarily going to help that much, but like you're going to start seeing kids start like opting out of the final month of the season so they can stay healthy and then enter the portal. Because that is basically a draft or a free agency of, I mean, it's a free agency, not a draft of like college kids. And, you know, it's just, it's hard to get a, like, I don't know. It's still new. So I feel like it's hard to kind of get your finger on the pulse of what's happening with it. But it's just weird.
Yeah, they're gonna have to change something, but how motivated is the NCAA really to do anything at this point?
They got fucking taken to the woodshed again in court.
Yeah.
Did you see the rant? There were 2 rants this week. We should play the Chip Kelly one because I thought that was really, really good. But the Chip Kelly rant and then the other rant of Will Wade, the former LSU basketball coach, who just went off about it.
No, I didn't see that one.
I mean, he broke the whole thing down about how just like how corrupt the NCAA. He's like, the whole thing's been a joke for years, and he's right. Like, I mean,
Will Wade. You know, I think people are going to kind of,
because he was doing what like everyone is. Dude, basketball is has always been the most corrupt sport of every single possible like NCAA sport. Always.
For sure.
Everybody, like Kansas, the fact that Kansas still has a fucking program is ridiculous. Like, it just ridiculous. Pull up see if you can find the Chip Kelly thing.
All right, I'll try to find it. In the meantime, yeah, I just, whatever is going on now in terms of the timeline of everything is just not working. And hopefully it get changed next year because, all right, let me see if I can. All right.
What is the biggest issue that you might have right now, whether it be realignment, NIL, transfer portal, and what would your plan maybe be to try to solve it?
I think they're all a problem, and I think we need to have a conference commissioner. I think football should be separate from the other sports. Just the fact that our school is leaving to go to the Big Ten in football, our softball team should be playing Arizona in softball. Our basketball team should be playing Arizona in basketball. But because football left, and they're saying, well, how do you do that? Well, Notre Dame's independent in football, and they're in a conference and everything else. I think we should all be independent in football. And you can have a 64-team conference that's in the Power 5, and you can have a 64-team conference in the Group of 5, and we separate it, and we play each other. You can have the West Coast teams, and then every year we play 7 games against the West Coast teams, and then we play the East. So we play Syracuse, Boston College, Pitt, West Virginia. Then the next year you play against the South while you still play your 7 teams. You can play a 7-game schedule. You can play 4 against another conference, another division opponent, and you can always play against one Mountain West team every year so that we can still keep those rivalries going. Not that I've really thought about this. Not that I've a lot of spent of time on this. But I think if you went together collectively as a group and said there's 132 teams and we all share in the same we all share the same TV contract, so that the Mountain West doesn't have one and the Sun Belt doesn't have another and SEC has one and they have another, that we all go together. That's a lot of games, and there's a lot of people in the TV world that would go through it. You can sponsor each one. Instead of calling it Group of 5 and Power 5, you can call it Amazon, Nike, bid that out to things.
That is gross.
Different things.
Yeah.
But I think if we still do the same thing and take all that money, and I would do this, and I think this needs to be done, that money now needs to be shared with the student athletes, and there needs to be revenue sharing. The players should get paid, and you get rid of NLI, and the schools should be paying the players because the players are what the product is. And the fact that they don't get paid is really the biggest travesty. Not that I've thought about it.
I thought he was spot on. I thought he was spot on, and I posted this I think on my Instagram story. I was like, bingo, like that is a perfect way to put it. And I mean, Chip Kelly, by the way, I don't know why UCLA fans are apparently angry with him. There was rumor that he was going to be gone, like pretty, like some point during the season, and then he, hauls off and beats USC. I like, he's right. Like, I mean, like, and I didn't even think about that because all we ever think about for the most part, I mean, it's the name of the podcast, right? Saturday Football Uncensored. Like, we talk about college football because it supersedes everything. But in like a place like the Pac-12, which is still crazy, you heard Bill Walton, high as a fucking kite, say this a million times. Like, it's just the conference champions, because they're so good in so many different things. But that is weird to watch. Like, I mean, you're gonna watch USC and UCLA baseball, who are at least storied programs, play Michigan and Indiana, and and those two teams have made a World Series. But like imagine sitting here having to tell people like, all right, so your softball team is going to be going to Rutgers in February. Like, that's where it sucks. Like that's where the whole thing sucks.
Yeah, or I mean, just the cost of getting the volleyball team, and like the Pac-12 has a bunch of crazy sports that we don't even have over here, like
Water polo
and shit like that. Like, it's just a mess. Nothing seems well thought out.
No, well, it was just very tunnel vision, focused on one specific thing, and that's football. And I get what we're doing. I thought he made a lot of good points, man. I hated what he said about like the Nike and Amazon thing, but it almost felt like more of a plea to say like, hey, like stop ruining the sport, because this is, again, not to be Debbie Downer about any of this, but like this is where it's headed, and all of these decisions weren't made with any of the fans, any of the athletes, any of the programs in mind.
Right.
All of it was made with the idea of, we're going to get as much money as possible, and that's the bottom line. And I tell you what, man, like UCLA is one of the most proud universities. It is right up there with Michigan as being like one of the public Ivy League institutions, one of the most incredible like alumni bases in the entire country. The people that have graduated from that school, it's unreal. But like, they're going to struggle with NIL, or as he called it, NLI. He didn't even know the name of it.
Not a good start.
I don't know. But I did post that on my Instagram story, and one of the first things that responded was Drew Butler, who's like, that's where it's headed. And part of me hopes that's like right, but also at the same time, like, I just wonder, even if they get to that, like, I don't know, like whoever's overseeing it, it's like we don't have somebody that's overseeing any of this with the good of the whole in mind. It is, how much can I get from my conference? It's a land grab for one, and then a money grab, and it's like I think the Big Ten and the SEC see where this is going, and they've been visionaries of where they think this is going to go. Right? What's wrong with my hands? Ooh. But yeah, why? What is going on? I look like they have hooves. Don't like that. Anyway, but I mean, it's like they're going to go, and I think they're trying to get ahead of this whole like 2-team or 2-conference like power conference thing. I don't know. Just the whole thing kind of sucks.
Yeah, no, the sport is becoming unrecognizable.
Yeah, right.
Do you have any picks on the next 2 games before we record again on Wednesday? UTSA.
No, we still have a lot of portal stuff I feel like we should talk about.
All right. Tell me which one.
Hold on, let me see who's playing. No, I mean, Old Dominion. I'm not going to bet on a 5.5 point spread though. UTSA at Marshall. It's in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. I would take UTSA. Is Frank Harris playing, or is he coming back for an 8th year? Now I'll tell you what. The game Thursday, I think the wrong team is favored. Syracuse is favored over South Florida, and we'll get to that on our Wednesday pod. And I'm actually very excited for the Friday game between Tech and UCF. Syracuse, kind of a seamless transition of like one of the 2 places I want to go before we close out is Syracuse is one of the best teams that has benefited from the portal.
Yeah, are you talking about this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? I find it very interesting that Syracuse was where Kyle McCord landed.
Well, look at the talent they've also brought in. Jackson Meeks from Georgia, Zeed Haynes. I'm pretty sure that Mekhi Muse went there as well.
Yeah, a lot of guys followed the coach that went up there, Fran Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we look. I mean, and then they also got Elijah Robinson from Texas A&M, who was a monster recruiter there.
Mm-hmm.
All those 5-star D linemen that they've got that are now transferring out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can make some noise. Georgia replaced Fran Brown, with USC's defensive pass game coordinator and DB's coach, which I don't know if you caught any USC games this year, Chris, but I wouldn't say that their DBs or their passing game defense was the strength of the team.
Now, listen, you know that I have nothing to gain from talking about Georgia on here at all because I've been boycotted from their fan base on one social media platform. Here's the thing, though. Okay. That was my first thought. I was like, that's an interesting hire because he's like, from an in-game standpoint, like that was not a great look for that secondary and that defense this past season. But if there's anyone I trust in the hiring of coaches, it is Kirby Smart. And if there's anyone I trust on defense, it's Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp, and Glenn Schumann. I think he'll be fine. That's the other thing too is Georgia lost. I think they've lost like 13 players, right, in the portal. It might be more. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me in the comments if you want to. But they lost like 13 players, and they've lost a bunch of former 5-stars. So that makes sense too. He's the head recruiter for Juju Lewis. Evan Grimes says.
Yeah, he's the number 1 recruit from the 2026 class, committed to USC. He's from Carrollton, Georgia, quarterback. Yeah. And yeah, apparently his best relationship on the staff was with Dominic Rhodes, I think his name is. So, yeah, I think if the way I think about this is Kirby is the D coordinator, Kirby is the DB coach.
Right.
You don't really need an on-field savant you need a recruiter. And
yeah,
it doesn't hurt that this guy is very well connected to Juju Lewis.
Well, now has inroads in the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is too, so somebody corrected me in the comments. They said, Harry LeGee, good to have you back, dude. They've had 16 players leave for the portal. Listen, Georgia fans, we bicker all the time. That's fine. They're going to be fine. If you look at this list of the players they've lost, I believe there's like 5 former 5-stars that they're going to lose. Who's playing? Like the only one that I'm even remotely concerned about is Dumas Johnson, the linebacker, because I thought that was really interesting. To me, I don't know anything about this. I could be talking on my ass about it. This is just speculation. It feels like that is a bit of a money grab. Like he's trying to get paid. And I could be wrong about that. I don't know, but I think that's probably what it is. Yeah, they've lost 1 starter. Most of the guys they got haven't played. They're going to be fine.
A lot of rumors around Dylan Raiola flipping to Nebraska. I'm just going to put my 2 cents into this. I follow recruiting for a long time. A kid that's gone to 4 different high schools and has been committed to 3 different schools, I'm just going to guess it's not going to work out. Track record would say that. I wouldn't be too worried if I was a Georgia fan. It sucks to lose that high ranked of a player, but I just get bad vibes.
Well, I'll tell you what, too. Like the other kid they got, Puglisi, who was also an Elite 11 guy, and like here's the thing: if you're showing me 2 quarterbacks, and I'll just say this from a fan standpoint, okay? If you're showing me 2 quarterbacks, and one is the number 1 overall recruit in the country, and he's blah blah blah, hasn't been playing for as long as the other kid, not as really well polished. He's a raw talent, right? And he has, like you said, jumped from school to school, like from school to school in high school. I've never understood that.
Yeah.
And then you have another kid who is committed, watched Dylan Raiola, the number 1 recruit in the country, commit to Georgia, didn't fucking budge, didn't waver, didn't flinch on that, and was like, I am committed. They asked him, I think our buddy Graham Coffey asked him when he was out there, they said, listen, what are you saying to coaches that are 1,000% calling you, asking about like your commitment level to a school that is like not recruiting over you, but they're recruiting alongside you? with what was already a pretty stacked quarterback room, right? And he was like, I told him, I appreciate the offer, I appreciate your interest, all that kind of stuff. I'm committed to the University of Georgia. And that kid is like one of the best arms in the country, like physically like a dude. I mean, like between the two, and this is probably a little bit grass is greener on the other side, and also, you know, hindsight's 2020, mix of that. But give me Puglisi all day.
Yeah,
Like,
for real.
if Raiola is like wavering to go to fucking Nebraska, I hate to say it, but that kind of says everything I need to know.
Right.
Like, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, if I was a Georgia fan, I wouldn't be super worried about losing Raiola.
No.
Let's see what else is going on here. I mean, early signing day is on Wednesday, so we will be recording that night.
Mhm.
There's going to be a lot that goes down between now and then.
It kind of feels like it's one of the more exciting ones in recent memory. We've had this for 2 years, I think, or this is maybe this is our third signing day we've done on the pod. On this pod, it sounds like there's going to be like there's only 5 players that are uncommitted.
That's
Like,
crazy.
as of right
That's just
when
crazy.
we first started doing this, I remember counting it, and it was like either 79 or 81. It was one of those two numbers that were somehow not getting that were somehow already committed or signed or whatever, right? So not super exciting. And that was after signing day. This is going into signing day. 95 of the top 100 players are already committed at whatever school they're going to go to. I do think there's going to be a lot of it seems like a lot of flips. If Ryan Williams goes to Auburn, I'm going to be pretty upset.
Yeah, Florida State's going to lose one of their top players to Miami. Not
Who?
happy about that. Armando Blunt.
Okay. KJ, there's 2 comments in our comment section about KJ Bolden.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I never know with these kids. I mean, he visited this weekend, said all the right things, but Auburn's coming heavy with those bags. I don't think he's going to Georgia.
It is an interesting pitch that Auburn's making. Did you see the video? Did you see the video of like Keontae Scott? I think it's Keontae Scott. It might have been Asante Samuel or whoever number 9 is, trying to convince. It's not Asante Samuel. What's his name? I don't know.
Asante Samuel played in the NFL for like 12 years.
Yeah, so he's got eligibility left. He's at Auburn. It's number 9, whatever. So he was talking about it was I think his name is Ben Roethlisberger. He is the middle linebacker for Auburn. But like they were talking about why Ryan Williams should come to Auburn versus Bama, and it was one of the most listen. I think there's a chance
when the kid joined in.
Yeah. If you go to Bama, they always win. When we win, like it's so much more fun because we get it out the mud. He called Jalen Milroe spoon-fed, Terry and Arnold spoon-fed. He's like, no, don't get me wrong, they're good. But like at the same time, it's like, what the fuck is happening right now? That is also kind of wild to me that like in this day and age, like that is what's happening. Like back in the day, like I tell you what, if you're, I don't want to say I'm old, but I am. One of the most incredible recruiting stories ever, and that you can watch the 30 for 30. It's called The Best That Never Was with Marcus Dupree. One of the best recruiting stories ever. This is back when like clearly some stuff was going on. Oklahoma and Texas were both after this kid. He was like right in between Bo and Herschel, right? He's from Philadelphia, Mississippi. And they moved, I think OU and Texas moved their key recruiters into like a hotel in his town, like as soon as the season ended, from December to signing day, so they could talk to him. But incredible story. It is interesting to me to see what like the emphasis that Hugh Freeze is putting on high school kids versus the portal. Because he said he didn't think he was doing a good job with the portal. I will say in year 1 he did a pretty good job. He addressed their needs as soon as he got there. but this is just, this is what his plan is. And we'll see how it goes. If you ask me, like, I don't know if putting all your eggs in that one basket is a great idea. But he's outside of, burner phones. He's smarter than I am.
Yeah, man. I just these days I just brace for pain on signing day and hope for the best. Ever since Travis Hunter, I'm jaded.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, we have one question before we go.
Okay.
This is from Jeff Williams, our good buddy. He says, in case I don't make it tonight, which he did, so thank you for coming, Jeff. He said, if FSU beats Georgia and goes 14-0, do they claim a national championship?
I mean, I wouldn't, but
hold on. Do you want to talk about the whole fucking, I guess, legislation that they're trying to, like it's being brought up in like the courts and politicians are getting involved?
By a Florida Gator graduate.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a waste of time and
Yeah.
money. Georgia's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, like if we were continuing down the 4-team path, I would say it's worth looking into at least getting a glimpse into like why these decisions are being made. But you can't just say, oh, these are just the best teams, because there's no physical way to prove that unless they play each other.
Right.
So it's like, but I'm not willing to have that conversation at teams 12 and 13. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have lost 3 fucking games. Like,
yeah.
Florida State's not going to be Georgia. One, they're the way I look at the game. If Georgia and Florida State both have a ton of opt-outs, that's a much better path for Georgia, because we don't have the depth of talent. We had really good starters. The depth isn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
Their depth is just full of 5 stars.
Right.
So yeah, I can't even imagine what the like morale is like around Florida State's practices right now. It's like if you play an entire season and then you're just like, what, Hershey freaking out?
Did you talk about that on the solo pod?
I didn't. Dude, everyone was crushing him for that.
Listen, I fully understand that, like, it sucks. Like, I would be pissed. I would be irate, and I wouldn't have shut up about it. 1,000%. I can guarantee that.
About it. I mean, I went on for 72 hours, and then I was like, all right, I've done my piece.
Right.
And I'll throw in dabs every once in a while, but
yeah, that's fair. And it's a bad look if Bama loses to Michigan, like, which could easily happen. Michigan's a really good team.
Yeah. And they're favored.
Yeah, they are. What is the line on that now?
The last I saw, I haven't looked at it in a couple days, but the last I saw was 1.5.
Okay, so it hasn't really changed.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where some of the big money starts getting placed on that. Yeah, so you guys, I get it to an extent, not experientially, because it seems like Bama kind of always gets the benefit of the doubt there. But I get it, like, experientially, or I'm sorry, I don't get it experientially, but I get it, like, to a degree of like, hey, you went undefeated, and now you don't have like a chance to like, and I even get it with Georgia, man. You won, like, you have 2 losses in 3 years.
Right.
And you're not going to the control playoff because you lost 1 game by 3 points on a neutral site to a team that is going to the playoff. Kind of seems a little bit unfair.
Yeah.
But the Herb Street thing, it was
that's like living proof that you didn't pick the best teams. That's a fake argument.
Okay. I don't know what to tell you.
Do you think Michigan and Washington are better than Georgia?
What you're doing, what my initial reaction is to say, is that those teams went 13-0 and deserve to be in. So I don't know what to say right now, because I'm talking to a Florida State grad, and that is, I don't know. I don't know. But see, here's the thing too. Like Washington, I think Washington, with what they played on the field and their strength of schedule and all those games, like I saw Reddit CFB post some shit the other day too that was like, this is what the top 4 teams should be. And it was like Washington, Oregon, Michigan, Georgia. And it was like, why the fuck are we still trying to make Oregon a thing?
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
they had plenty of chances to against the same team to prove that they were better than them, and they didn't. So
I told you this. I said it the Saturday night when everything happened during those games 2 weeks ago, that I thought Florida State deserved to be in over Alabama. I haven't wavered on that. I also have said repeatedly, I'm not going to apologize that or like for cheering for my team because my team's in, and I'm going to pull for my team in the playoff.
of course,
But yeah, I still understand. Like I think that like it's a tough sell for me to say that a Power 5 team that went undefeated shouldn't get in.
yeah. Well, like Herbstreit's,
Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about.
he's feeling the fucking heat from Florida State fans on Twitter, and you can tell because they've had podcasts on ESPN about it with Reese Davis saying like, well, we don't have anything to do with it, and like I don't know why everyone's mad at us. And then Herbstreit's going on McAfee being like, just like basically pleading, and McAfee's like, you're a great guy. I don't know why people. It's like, dude. And then he went on a just absolute tirade on Twitter.
Good.
Didn't use a thread. Didn't do it. It was just a long rambling sentence. Of just,
Okay, so let me
brought up the 2000s. Like,
this is
we were in a
this is-
totally different era. There was no playoff. Like
it's a
he's
WordPress
like, you want
blog.
to be in 2000. It's like, yeah, well, that's because Twitter didn't exist and we couldn't talk to you.
So here's the thing. You guys have been absolute fucking dickheads to Kirk Herbstreit.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I've been tweeting about his service dog. Not to him, but
that makes it worse.
but
You've been talking shit about Ben.
I'm not about Ben, but they announced that game day next year. They've already announced the first one's going to be at Florida State, Georgia Tech in Ireland. And I was like, man, Kirk's really going to need his service dog that day.
That's fucked up. You guys talk all the shit you want about me, Georgia Twitter, but you bring up Pepper, we got a real problem.
No slight to Ben, all right? You know, Ben seems like a great dog, but Kirk's already replaced him. He got a puppy. I'm one of the few Florida State fans that he probably hasn't blocked on Twitter.
I will say this. I've never understood from Twitter when people say like the whole like blocking thing, especially. You go out of your way to be rude to somebody, right? Then they respond what you were trying to elicit the response.
Yeah.
And think about this. Like I get mad when it's like 5 to 10 of the same fucking Georgia people on Twitter all the time. And it's like, and then sometimes I'll snap and say whatever, right?
And
now
Kirk does too. He will snap on people randomly.
But it's been thousands and thousands of FSU fans of getting after him, and then he finally snapped, and FSU goes, "We broke Kirk.
We broke your brain."
Yeah, but at the same, like you guys were fucking like he wasn't on the panel. Like he wasn't in the room. Go tweet that shit at Bill Hancock.
The argument is when you have a room of 13 people where half of them don't even really have never been in the game, they're going to listen to probably what's considered the main source of info for college football, which is
there's 7 people on the actual committee that have some either former players or coaches.
Yeah, and so that's barely half.
It's more than half
by one.
Okay.
So half the people don't have any idea what they're looking at, and they're listening to Kirk Herbstreit before Jordan Travis even got hurt. Like, yeah, I mean, at this point, I'd probably just leave Florida State out when they were running through scenarios of Bama beating Georgia. So he was setting the tone, and then I was bitching about it before I even thought we would actually get out. I was like, they keep making they really want Florida State to not be in because Jordan Travis got hurt. So I mean, they were laying that foundation for 3 weeks heading into that.
When he went off, I was like, when he went off on Florida State, I remember thinking to myself, and I was like, well, at least Tyler isn't in that group. I think I said like I'm gonna ask Tyler what he thinks about this, and then I remembered when you went on your
72-hour rant.
When you went on your rant, like on the pod, you said specifically, he said, Kirk Herbstreit, you're dead to me. I was like,
yeah, dude. Because then they're like, well, I just feel awful for Florida State. It's like, no, you don't.
I think they do. They probably do, but it's also not their fault.
Since when did we start making decisions about player injuries and like teams not being able to play because of them?
I think it's always been a part of it. It's
No.
never once been
Never
the
seen
best
I've
four
never
teams.
seen it. Never
It's
seen it.
never been the most. Okay. And so the only difference is when it happened to Ohio State took their backup and they beat Wisconsin 59-3.
Yeah.
You guys won like 10-0.
16-6.
So yeah, okay, 16-6. My match. I mean,
I guess defense just doesn't even matter anymore. Got to put up points.
That's the thing that concerns me. Remember, we talked about this on the podcast a while back. Like the whole thing about defense, which like, no, I agree that Florida State should be in. Okay, Jenny, I fully agree with you.
This conversation,
huh?
Great. I'm glad we're still talking about it. It's great.
Yeah, just dude, rent free, bro, rent free. No, I think that like, I do think you guys should have gotten in. I think it's misdirected anger, which is fine. That's what Twitter apparently is for. But like, I will also say that the defensive thing, I kept saying this for a while, and it was like, it worries me the way that the committee is identifying good teams. Because one of the things they kept saying was like, Oregon they keep beating these teams. Like it's the way they're winning by 30 points and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, but they haven't played anybody. And they kept saying, it's like, the way they're winning in such impressive fashion. And the committee they kept making excuses. Like it was painstakingly clear that offensive points in their eyes meant that that's like what a good team was. And the other thing that seemed painstakingly clear was they had in their mind who was good from a very, very early like standpoint. Like they had in their mind who was good, who was bad. And that like, and they didn't move off that. And that's what sucked too, because it was like, then the way they had to do all the rankings, they fucked up. They just like, there was no reason to put Florida State anywhere where they put them.
Right. Why move them into the top 4 the week before? And then if you're saying they're so bad that they can't beat any of these teams, why'd you rank ahead of Georgia? It's just like nothing makes sense.
That part is, you made that point during your rant, and I thought that was a really, really good point. They like, from jump, you put Bama and Texas at 7 and 8, and you seemingly put them too far back for them to jump in. I'm telling you, man, I think they kept thinking it's going to work itself out. It's going to work itself out. And then it just never worked itself out. We have a question here. What would your final 4 actually have been? I'd say Bama's the 1 seed for sure. 2,
I would have gone personally Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Texas.
Yeah. I would have gone, yeah, that's fair.
And I fully admit that I think Bama is better than Florida State at this current iteration, but
say it again, bitch.
All right, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Evan Grimes asked if we're going to do a award show. Did you tell folks
I think we should.
Show?
We should do an award show.
Okay.
Before the big games start.
Oh, also, I confirmed today I will be in Atlanta December 28th through January 5th. So start fucking planning your trip out of town then.
December 28th. What am I doing that day? Playing
Probably
golf.
Leaving. Okay. Well, I'll be there for like 8 days. So
I will be here.
Sign out of here.
All right. Appreciate everybody listening to the show. As always, go rate us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. Share the pod with your friends. Leave us a review. Best ones get read on air. And don't forget to check out the videos and clips from the show. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. All the above. Thanks for listening, guys. For Chris, I'm Tyler. We will talk to you guys on Wednesday. Enjoy the Old Dominion and Western Kentucky game.